Sign this shit.
Hi. This is going to be...
Who's this interrupting this interview?
Hi, Ross.
Sorry, sir.
You better be in the band.
Sorry,
Say hi
sir.
to people.
Don't dock my pay.
Wait, you think you're going to get paid?
Oh, fuck. I'm out of here.
No, hold on just a sec. Sorry, we gotta... Thanks. Say hi to the people, Ross.
Fuck
Out
you.
of the people.
For Reaper Metal Productions, this is a special HELLCAST interview, video interview with Matt Harvey from Exhumed, Pounder. What else is on that list?
Gruesome, and then a bunch of other inactive type bands.
Well, why can't you stick with one band? Why you gotta be all over the place?
Because I like bands that stay true to their core style, but I also like a lot of styles of music.
Yeah.
So for a death metal band to go and make a thrash metal album or whatever is lame. So if I want to make a thrash metal album, I'll go do it somewhere else. You know, I think you should be free to do what you want as a songwriter or whatever, a musician or whatever you want to call it. I hate the word artist, so I'm trying to skirt around it. But you also need to respect that once you put a couple records out, you sort of become something that doesn't wholly belong to you. And if you don't respect that, then you end up making a Cold Lake or like a whatever the Morbid Angel.
A fantastic record, right?
I actually kind of like Cold Lake, but is it a good Celtic Frost record? No, it's not.
No Kill a Cop.
Oh, no, that I'm just out.
Is crossing the line since 1989.
When I heard that line in particular, I was like, David, the band was around since like '85. So what happened? They were just edging up to the line for the first 4 years.
Really well.
Right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so my thing was always I didn't want to do that. I wanted to stay true to sort of, I want to have a vision for Exhumed initially when I was in high school. It was all we could do to have one band. And I didn't want to dilute that vision, but I also wanted to go and do other shit that I really like.
Yeah. So this is my first experience seeing Exhumed live. And I've known though, like through the years, like you would do like puking on stage and stuff like that. Now it seems like the stage set is kind of transformed, where now it's more like horror oriented. Like, how did that come about?
Well, I mean, it fits in with the latest album, which is called Horror.
Yeah.
And the thing is, back in the day, we had a little bit different approach where we sort of wanted to be like Kiss, where everybody does something. Gene Simmons flies and spits blood, and Ace has a laser guitar or whatever. And so each of the band members would kind of try and find a shtick, but people weren't always comfortable with that. And so now we've developed our mascot, Dr. Filthy. And we sort of outsourced all those things to him. Mm-hmm. Rather than someone in the band blowing fire or someone in the band having a chainsaw or throwing up or so on and so forth, we now sort of have a character that's like, it's like Iron Maiden, like Eddie,
Yeah.
Like Adrian Smith can just stand there and play his guitar, and
right.
Eddie can do all the crazy shit. So
you're kind of more lax these days, though, because you have a mascot kind of taking the show.
I mean,
and you can just
I
play.
don't feel like it's more lax. I feel like I'm able to put more concentration into just executing the songs, and concentrate on that. And also, it gives a little bit of a degree of separation to where, nobody thinks that Iron Maiden is just a gimmick band. But people were like, oh, Kiss is just a gimmick band, some dude spitting blood or whatever. So it's like,
I see.
it allows us to have a little bit of musical credibility, but yet we're kind of having our cake and eating it too.
Yeah,
That's great.
Because we want to provide a show, and we want it to be entertaining. And, anyone that's been in this scene for long enough has seen hundreds of dudes in jeans headbanging while playing instruments. And that's great. I mean, that's what I grew up on. But we're trying to, just put our own spin on it or whatever,
But back in the day, then, when you were puking and stuff, though, like, how did that, like, what is that conversation like? Like, Ross, like, you go on the side and, like...
Our old guitar player and then bass player back in the early days, Bud, he was the puker. And at the time, Cole and I, this is like 99, we were very obsessed with this sort of, like, traditional metal look.
Yeah.
Because in the late 90s, it was like you either dressed up like a funny vampire black metal guy with a top hat or like a cape and shit, or you'd look like you wore like a tracksuit and had like short spiky hair or whatever. Yeah. And so to us, it was very crucial that we'd be like guys with long hair, headbanging and and representing the metal that we sort of grew up on. And So Ross was fired from the band, and then that the same Ross that was back. So obviously the firing wasn't too horrible.
Was he having any signed shit and it just got too much?
And then so Bud came in, and he's like, well, but I have short hair. And we're like, fuck. And he's like, well, I can't throw up on command. And like, we can use that.
You made up for it.
Right.
You made up for it. I got the pictures to prove it.
Right. I mean, he had great stage presence. He was an excellent player.
Yeah.
Wonderful guy. And he also was able to throw up. I think he got out of a lot of like school days as a kid because he would just be like, oh, Mom, I can't go to school. Oh, my God, Bud, you need to stay home. Let me call your teacher. And then he could, you know.
It's like, how do you possess that ability? Like, just,
Well, it's kind of like, you know, if you like,
oh.
you suck in air to belch.
It's like the Ace Ventura feeding the bird.
He just has
two.
an extreme gag reflex. So what would make a normal person belch, he's able to throw up. Like, he had a really tough time like brushing his teeth. Sometimes you'd hear him brushing his teeth, like, and it's like, Jesus Christ, dude.
He wouldn't be a very good bear.
No, he would not last long in prison. Cute little guy like him. Fuck.
He was like down in Tweepies before one of the shows before he was doing that.
Yeah.
So I saw him. I was like, "How you doing, man?" I just, down this junk food here.
Right, he would need to like,
stage.
yeah, he'd have to like carb load or whatever. So the show seriously would throw up.
It's funny though that you bring up,
Very
how you have to have a certain look and stuff because J-Dog, as you don't know him as, but Justin, who partakes in HELLCAST episodes.
Yes.
We were just talking about that, and he was very adamant about how, death, and I agree, how, like, death metal, when you open up a liner or just see the band picture, and you see a band, then they're in sports shirts or whatever, it's just like, dude, you can't do that.
Turn off.
I mean, I love sports, and I grew up in the Bay Area, so there was no real separation between sports and metal. Everybody in the bands that I grew up looking at, Exodus, Testament, Sadist, whatever, they all were into sports, and it was very clear. That said, I mean, maybe if you're like picking a shirt to have your CD photo in, like, to just represent the scene that you're in, or something cool that you're a fan of, or whatever, and try to tell people a little bit more about where you're coming from, because sports is more just like it's a regional thing. I was born in the Bay Area, so I'm a Raiders fan. If I was born in Cleveland, I might be a Browns fan. Who knows?
Right, exactly. Well, I wanted to take this moment then to talk about Decapitator, because when it comes to like your projects, that's probably the one I'm probably most excited about.
Okay.
Like, just being like a thrash nerd and stuff.
Okay.
So like, you remember when, like, I don't know if there was ever anybody thinking about it the way I was thinking about it, but it seemed like there was like a point in time where there was like that resurgence that it really got popular, where the time traveler kids were wearing the high top sneakers and stuff, and that was probably around like 2005 or so.
Right, that sounds about right. Yeah.
And it seemed like a lot of people like focused their attention on like, oh, Toxic Holocaust is kind of what brought back thrash, and I always thought, I was like, no, not at all. I think Decapitator kind of did, or at least predecessors to
it's a little bit different thing, because when we did Decapitator, I mean, we started in '96. And a lot of that had to do with Exhumed kind of finding our identity as a band. Before, we were just, like a typical local opener death metal band, very influenced by the things that were happening right then, Obituary, Pestilence, Death, Carcass, Napalm Death, Entombed, etc. And after the death metal scene kind of, at least in the Bay Area, kind of died down, and it sort of changed, like bands like Suffocation and Cannibal Corpse kind of became like the standard bearers. That wasn't the death metal that I was the most interested in. I like both those bands, but to me, I can sit around and listen to like Impetigo or Repulsion or Entombed's early stuff. Like, I can listen to it all day.
Yeah.
And Suffocation and Cannibal Corpse don't really have a lot to do with that. So we kind of looked around for other stuff that we were into, and we started going backwards. And we found that what was really missing in 90s death metal and this 90s metal in general was this attitude of the 80s metal, and the bullets and the fucking, the sneers and the faces and the fucking invisible oranges and the inverted crosses and all that stuff. And we felt that nobody was really doing that. So we wanted to we just ended up kind of incorporating that into Exhumed, but we became obsessed because when I was listening to thrash in 87, 88, I was on like a $10 a week budget, I was on allowance. And so there would be all these records that I would hear about and I couldn't buy. And then in the mid-90s, 94, 95, 96, I had a job, and records, specifically vinyl records, specifically thrash rental records, were fucking cheap as shit. So you could go to the record store and spend $40 and walk out with Assassin, Upcoming Terror, Possessed by Fire by Exhumed, and Corner, R.I.P. and Killing Technology, and all these records, some of which I had and some of which I was sort of filling in the gaps. So it was this big sort of exciting thing that was happening in our little circle of friends. And, we were really disappointed because all the Bay Area thrash bands weren't really playing thrash, and we thought, oh, this would be like a fun thing to do. But we didn't really approach it from a sort of careerist standpoint where, Municipal Waste and Toxic Holocaust that came out a couple of years later, not only did they have good songs, but they had went on tour and they were really like focused on building the band, which is a big part of what makes a band successful. Like sitting around and just like recording cool shit with your friends, maybe trading some tapes or whatever at that time. Like that's all well and good, but if you want to do this for a living, right. You need to go out and you need to be playing and doing all the things that those bands were doing, and we really weren't because we were more busy with Exhumed, and we kind of, it wasn't that we didn't take the band seriously, like from a creative standpoint, but we didn't really sort of see the example. And then now when I hang out with Tony from Waste, he's like, yeah, I just bought a house, and I'm like, well, I'm an idiot. Tony is a smart person, and I'm a fucking idiot, so all right, cool. I mean, he lives in Virginia, and I live in California, but still, like, fuck. But those bands were much smarter about it from the beginning than Decapitator had ever been. We just sort of looked at it as a fun thing, us just playing music that we really liked. And, I think that it would have been a little bit different if Relapse would have had the foresight to be like, oh, you guys are doing this other band. We already signed Exhumed. Why don't we take this on and see if we can do something with it? But they're like, thrash metal? This is like 2000. What the fuck do we want this for? And so it goes.
Yeah. Well, one of the smart things you did do, you might not be aware of it, there was a segment on this show recently, and highlighting that smart was 5 metal cover songs that should not be, and you made one of those 5 songs with Exhumed's classic Madonna cover.
Classic.
Yes. And you did a cover song tonight, it was Count as Bathory, so like, what, will you ever be putting the Madonna cover in there?
Well, like, people ask us about it, like, fairly regularly, and we try to find a way to work it in, and
seriously,
it did not work. We tried it once, and people were just like, what the fuck is happening? And we're like, well, no, not gonna happen. But we always like to include a cover song in the set all the time. We did Detroit Rock City on the last tour. We've done like Boys Are Back in Town. We've done Black Magic, Seek and Destroy, like, because I think it's it's just the example of a band having fun and enjoying what they're doing, A lot of bands stand there really serious, like, it's like, do you even want to be here, man? Like, we're having fun and we're also trying to, again, make that through line that connects through from, all the way from Sabbath, Zeppelin, Purple, to Motorhead, Angel Witch, Maiden, to Metallica, Slayer, to Repulsion, to whatever. And it's all part of this, like, hard rock, heavy metal thing, and we want to always keep a connection to that in some way and harken back to that stuff, because that's what's important to us.
So people legitimately wanted you to play the Madonna cover?
I think it's just more of like dude, what the fuck, you guys should do that. And I was like, well, maybe we should try it. I was like, why am I listening to this guy? Like, we should just do the Kiss cover. That's going over really well. So but we all did it. Like, we're all, well, I don't know about now, but back when we did the Madonna thing, like, everyone in the band was legitimately a Madonna fan. I like Madonna. I like a lot of 80s music just in general. And she had some great tunes. And we did it as a laugh. And, then 6 Feet Under made like a whole record of songs like that. And I was like, wow, this is not that clever of an idea.
6 Feet Under cover albums, a hoot. We'll have to leave it on that. But big fans of it in some other ways. That'll be the legacy to be.
I love a hoots. What can I say? Hoot nannies.
I'm always looking for a hoot.
But it was set off camera before we did this, so I could not let this opportunity be passed up. That Matt apparently has a doppelganger or a clone.
Totally.
So let's the audience decide. Come over here, Matt.
Come on,
part 2, I guess.
All right.
See, he was so loud off the set.
We have to take a poll on this,
Yes,
but my vote is that I see a big similarity.
Serious face.
Yeah.
Do a compare and contrast.
And we need one of these.
Like
We need one of these.
We got the hair, we got the
Bloody Sabbath.
face structure. I mean, it's us all there.
Zone in there, not on mine. You see it?
Yeah,
I'm behind the camera. I can't see
No,
it.
Mike
I
says
see
no.
Mike's
Aaron
Oh,
knows.
it's
Yes.
there.
Eric's
Who came up with this fucking idea?
I see
I don't, because I'm like sitting there staring at Matt the whole time. Like, I don't see it.
Labs photos.
The only difference is Don's got just a smidge more gray in the beard, but other than that,
Smidge! I
I was being polite.
Smidge.
got a lot of
Don is
smidge.
the older brother.
There's a lot of
Well, he is. He's got 6 years on you, you know? So that's about it.
So other
I got a lot
than
of
6 feet
smidge.
under's cover albums as a hoot, do you have any final words?
Just thanks for having me on here, and thanks for everything that Hell's Headbangers has done with my bands through the years, with Exhumed and with Pounder, and like haven't seen you guys growing
always
up
having
in little
some good laughs.
squirts.
Especially Justin.
Yeah, it's really cool, man, because like I just remember the Horvels coming to shows back when we were, first touring in like 99, 2000, and I just felt like I'd never seen people with so much sincerity and so much love for this kind of music. And it sounds cheesy or whatever, but it's inspiring because, ultimately, that's why I'm still doing this. I'm 44. At any time, I could have just been like, yo, dog, I'm just going to cut my hair and go to DeVry. And I know people that work for fucking biotech and work in the video game industry or whatever.
I want to buy a house.
Right. Right. So, I'm going to move next door to Tony. It's but, so just to see that they're all still into it, they're still doing great things with the label, that makes me really stoked because, it's like once the passion for this kind of music gets into you, it never really lets go. And it's just neat to see that reflected in other people, and it's very cool. So just thanks to Hell's Headbangers, and
So there you have it. Who would have thought a man that pukes on stage would be so heartfelt?
Matt is not bright, but he's just.
He can't afford a house. He's not bright. He's got a clone.
But he's got a heart like hell.
But he's in one hell of a band.
thank you guys. Cheers.